Sometimes we need some help. We are only humans. We are only humans.
Hello, welcome to Inspire Today. I'm your host, Beatrice Nyariwo. Now, gender-based violence is on the rise, and it's not only a problem worldwide, but also in our country. Now, most organizations have come up to be able to curtail this evil, and one of them is a strategic applications international. And today we are privileged to have the program officer, that is Faith Owafula, who will be telling us more about their organization and their campaign, that is Sema Kenya, which is due to happen this Friday at the University of Nairobi. Well, Faith, thank you so much for joining us today, and by the way, you're looking amazing and elegant.
Thank you for having me. You look amazing as well.
Thank you. But before we embark on your initiative, which is due this Friday at the University of Nairobi, tell us more about your organization. What do you do?
Well, Strategic Applications International comes alongside its partners to build their capacities to enable them to be able to achieve their goals. So we work with a variety of partners in different sectors, and our approach to each partner is customized to their goals or their end goals.
So which partners are you working closely with?
It depends on what initiative we're working on exactly. For gender-based violence, we are partnered with IRC, UNICEF, African Nazarene University, and Nazarene Compassionate Organization to form the Kenya Gender-Based Violence Partnership. And we formed it to address gender-based violence issues outside of Nairobi. So that's in Lodwar, in Kiatine, and in Samburu. But for Nairobi, we have partnered with LVCT.
LVCT is?
Liverpool Voluntary Counseling and Testing Center.
Okay.
Yes. Mathare Youth Sports Association. There's the Big Four Club, fan clubs in Kenya.
So actually, the Big Four.
Yes, Manchester, Arsenal, Liverpool, and Chelsea fan clubs.
So basically, also you're incorporating sports in this initiative.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
Amazing.
Incorporating sports as well. So we partnered with them to form the Kenya Gender-Based Violence Partnership as well, especially for the youth angle, which is targeting Nairobi.
Okay, maybe to our viewer who is watching us right now, tell us in simple terms what a gender-based violence.
Well, gender-based violence is violence that is perpetrated against a person on the basis of their gender. It's a violation of human rights. It is a form of discrimination. Yes.
Okay, when you talk about the gender-based violence and youth, but who are the most affected when you talk about gender-based violence? Who are the most affected?
Well, it is women. Most of the victims of gender-based violence are women, and most of the perpetrators are men. That is not to say that men cannot be victims of gender-based violence. It just so happens that a large percentage of the perpetrators are men.
Okay, and for the women, you said the most victims are the women. Why do you think women are the most victims?
Well, I would say it's because we live in a society that is largely patriarchal, meaning women feel like they should take the back seat, and a lot of women are not economically empowered, especially when it comes to the rural areas. They're not economically empowered, and they don't really have a say in matters of their homes, matters in their homes. So that causes a lot of gender-based violence.
You talked about as women being the most victims when it comes to gender-based violence. I mean, what age group are we talking about, and also the statistic that is there concerning gender-based violence in women?
Well, gender-based violence affects women sadly all through their lives, but the age group that we're focusing on, especially for our youth campaign, is from around 15 to 35. Well, statistics show that 1 in every 3 women in Kenya has undergone gender-based violence, and you'd be surprised, 25% or 1 in every 4 women in Kenya lost their virginity by force. So you
Okay.
understand the intensity of the matter.
That
why
is a
it's
rape.
Yes.
Okay.
Lost their virginity by force, exactly. So you understand the intensity of the matter and why we feel it is important to address this issue, especially when it comes to youth and young people.
So basically, at the age of 18 and 35. So why this age group? Because we also have women above 40s who are still, experiencing gender-based violence. But why are you focusing in that age group, 18 to 35?
Because we realize that that gender-based violence, because we realize that the youth are the backbone of our economy. The youth are tomorrow's leaders. And if we don't address issues like gender-based violence while we're still young, then you can imagine what kind of society we'll have by the time we grow old. Yes? So it's a good thing when we try and handle these things right now so that we can create a better generation in future. That is not to say that we don't have initiatives that address issues of older women as well. That is addressed by the larger Kenya Gender-Based Violence Partnership, as I explained, and that's in basically outside of Nairobi, Lodwar, Isiolo, Kiatine, and Samburu.
Now, again, back to the age bracket, because it's very important. Now, 18 to 35, are we looking at a youth who is at the university, a youth who is at home? Basically, which group are we looking at?
Well, we're looking at youth in general. Yeah, this is with regard to the Sema campaign. We're looking at youth in general. So we have different categories of the campaign, or rather different angles to the campaign. We have the university-based campaign, we have the community-based campaign, and we have the basically the rest. Yes.
Which are these the rest?
The
we're
rest.
talking about, yeah.
Basically everyone that falls in between the ages of 18 to 35. Maybe
but
I should explain.
but are not either in the university. But at the end of the day, we're in the community and also in the university. So the rest.
Our campaign will target all that.
Okay.
Maybe I should explain how it is, how exactly it's divided.
Okay, please.
There's the university angle.
Okay.
There's the community angle, and there is an angle where we're working with the sports clubs, the sports fan clubs, the Manchester, Chelsea, Arsenal, and Liverpool fan clubs. So for the fan clubs, we will use social media messaging and messaging during games that covers gender-based violence.
And now in the community-based, what exactly are you doing in the community-based?
We are using sports. We are using sports
okay.
to address gender-based violence. We are working with Madara Youth Sports Association, and we've trained their youth rights community. We've trained their youth rights committee, and they'll be organizing sports for youths within different zones as they're represented in Eastlands.
Okay, now let's talk about now youths in university. What are the most cases that we're likely to hear that fall under gender-based violence, which they're likely to to experience when it comes to university?
Well, based on the experience we've had with the students, there is a lot of intimate partner violence. There's a lot of cohabitation that goes on in universities, and
how
so many.
How does that arise to violence? I mean, a lady and a gentleman cohabiting. How does that give rise to the violence?
Well, a boyfriend and a girlfriend are living together, and it becomes some sort of marriage.
Okay.
Yes. And after that, the boyfriend feels like he is obligated to having sex with the girlfriend at whatever time he wants. And there's a lot of cases that arise with regard to sexual violence and physical and emotional violence as well when it comes to intimate partner relationships, especially in universities. And what has brought rise to this is the fact that there are so many apartments that have been built these days close to universities, because hostels are segregated. But there's all these apartments that have been built, and students are living together, male and female students, and it becomes a cohabitation or a marriage of sorts. And so a lot of violence ensues in such situations.
Okay, what other forms are we likely to experience at the university? That is one you've talked about.
We have date rape. We have a lot of date rape, which is
date rape. Explain that, please, to our viewer.
Date rape is basically happens when there's substance abuse, when say two young people go out and there's alcohol and there's drinking, and someone spikes a girl's drink and takes her home and has sex with her without their consent, or even has sex with a girl when she's drunk to a level where she cannot give her consent, she can't give her valid consent.
And you mentioned a very important thing, and that is consent. Maybe you can be able to tell us a difference between, consent and force. Because sometimes you feel like, for example, like, let's say rape cases, maybe a lady is in agreement with a man, and afterwards you find that the lady will go out and accuse the man of raping, but that was actually consent, and there's actually a force. So maybe you can clarify more on consent and force.
Okay. Well, that's where the problem comes, Beatrice. To be honest,
Okay.
most young people really don't understand consent, and it's very important. Consent is the only line that marks sex and rape. That's
Okay.
the line in between. So consent, first of all, should be valid. It should be given freely. I should give
Like
you
an
out of my
agreement
free
between
will.
two people.
Yes, I should give it out of my free will. You shouldn't coerce it out of me. You shouldn't force it out of me. And also, I should give you when I'm in the right frame of mind. I can't give you when I'm drunk. I can't give you consent when I'm drunk. You can't have sex with me when I'm asleep. Then that becomes rape. Yes. So that's what a lot of young people don't understand, issues of consent, and that's one of the issues that we are really trying to address, issues of consent as well.
Okay, and also there's this scenario, especially you mentioned something about e-violence, and also maybe you can also clarify the consent and force, because here's a scenario. My boyfriend has taken nude photos of me, and I was in full conscious, full aware of what was happening, and then my boyfriend goes ahead and posts my photos on Facebook. So what can you say about that? I mean, can you tell us about the consent and force? Because do you have the right to go ahead and file a case against my boyfriend for violence?
I'm not sure I mentioned e-violence, but that is actually one of the issues that we're trying to address, because it's an upcoming form of gender-based violence in universities, and it's rising every day. E-violence is basically using cyberbullying to as a form of gender-based violence. So yes, taking nude pictures of a woman and posting them on social media or over the internet is one form of it. Sharing these photos on WhatsApp, which is happening each and every day in our universities, sadly. And to be honest, consent is very important there.
I guess we'll talk more about that when we come back from a short commercial break. We have been talking to the program officer, that is Faith Wafula. She's been telling us more about the organization and what they do in regards to gender-based violence. But when we come back, remember they have an event going down this Friday at the University of Nairobi. She'll be telling us more about this event and what they intend to achieve at the end of the day. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
We are only human. Sometimes we need some help. We are only human. We are only human. Sometimes we need some help.
Welcome back. You're still on Inspire today, and we've been talking about gender-based violence. This is a very broad issue, but we have a very interesting lady. Her name is Faith Wafula from the Strategic Applications International. She's been helping us to demystify all about gender-based violence. Now, Faith, before we went to a short commercial break, we were talking about some of the forms of gender-based violence that we're likely to experience at the university level. So tell us more about that.
Well, there is a number of gender-based
And
forms of
actually,
gender-based.
we have talked about the e-bullying, that through the internet, that is cyberbullying, and also we have talked about cohabiting, that is a lady and a gentleman in one room, which is likely to cause that. And also you mentioned something about stereotyping. Maybe tell us more about stereotyping.
Okay. I think before I mentioned that the problem is not so much cohabiting,
Okay.
but intimate partner violence when they cohabit.
Okay.
Well, stereotyping is there's different forms of stereotyping, and especially when it comes to gender-based violence and the youth, I'll speak about the elephant in the room, chips funga. Yes.
And that's a common word. And it's like
Exactly.
ladies have accepted these chips funga.
Exactly. And that's the thing. Everyone uses it and everyone thinks it's okay, but really it's not. Because let me give you a perfect scenario. When you go to a club as a girl and there's a guy and they decide, yeah, this is my chips funga. He decides now that he's bought you 2 drinks, two bottles of beer or alcohol, then you're obligated to go home with him. Yes? So you're his chips funga. He already has that set in his mind. And you as a girl are okay with it. We really have no issues. Most young girls have no issue being called chips funga. But this guy has it set in his mind that he's taking you home, and that means this girl will drink and drink and drink to a level, even when she's gotten to a level where she cannot really give valid consent. She's like insanely drunk. He'll still take her home and have sex with her based on that fact. So stereotypes like chips funga really just propagate the issue of gender-based violence. And as women, as young women, we shouldn't be okay with being stereotyped. Your name shouldn't be chips funga, your name shouldn't be baby, your name shouldn't be all those things. Like, you deserve respect, and we should recognize that fact as well.
I guess Faith has put it in a very clear way. As ladies, we should stop to propagate men calling us chips funga. I mean, we have our names, right? They're supposed to call us by our
True.
names. So if a guy calls you chips funga, you should stand by him and tell him, I'm not a chips funga. Okay, Faith, also tell us about this ponyoka na fresh. You're telling me about ponyoka na fresh. It's very interesting. I think our viewer would like to know about ponyoka na fresh.
Yes, this is mostly this is a university thing, and about when you're going to campus, you're in first year, you're this young 17, 18-year-old girl, you're excited about campus.
And you're coming from high school, and now you
Exactly.
feel you're fully fledged, you have
Exactly.
freedom to do anything you want.
So when you come for induction, you come to campus, the only thing they ever tell you when you get to campus is what to expect in terms of, this is the hostel you're going to be living in, this is what, they never really give you the truth about the experience, about how it's going to be, what kind of issues you're going to get when you get to campus. Yes? So these girls come to campus, and then there's all these older boys, third year, fourth year, and they're hitting on you, and you feel like, oh my goodness.
I'm so hot. That's
Exactly.
exactly. Say, I'm
Yes.
so hot. I mean,
Yes.
every guy is after me.
So all these older guys, basically, you could say they take advantage of these girls, and these girls don't know what to expect. And by the time they get to third year, fourth year, if you look at the rates of HIV infection, you look at the kind of choices they're making, even as just young women, they're absolutely shocking. Yes, and it's because these women were not prepared. These young girls were not prepared for what they were going to experience when they got into campus. Yeah, so there's that whole rush for first years, and they are the gold and the new girls in the campus, and there's that whole rush, and everyone wants to take advantage of them, of them sexually, because of what we'd call their innocence.
Okay, so we've talked about the e-violence. We've talked about the stereotyping, and so much about the forms of violence. So, according to you, what are the causes of this? What are the causes? What really fund violence in universities?
In universities, at community level with the youth, I think one of the biggest things is substance abuse, alcohol abuse. There's a lot of violence that occurs because of alcohol abuse, even when you go to the bars, or just even when they get back to their homes in which they are cohabiting. There is so alcohol abuse is a big issue. There is also there's this mentality and this attitude that the youth have, that has been, of course it's generated by the stereotypes, it's generated by just mentalities that have been formed as we grow up. Yeah, I'm a girl, you're a girl, this is a boy, this is what they're supposed to do, this is what I'm supposed to do as a girl. You understand? So all these attitudes and mentalities that people have created over time, growing up, they build up and they form the sort of attitude that men have towards women, or young men have towards young women, and this also propagate violence.
So that means is an attitude, is the mentality that has to be changed.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about now your organization and how you're coming in to be able to fight gender-based violence. Now you've talked about the mentality, the attitude. So you as a program officer at the Strategic Applications International, what exactly are you doing in the universities to be able to curtail this?
Well, our campaign, Sema, is all about attitude change, all about mentality change, and all about speaking out. Sema, say something. So with the trainings that we've been doing, and the fact that we let these young people actually take the lead in preventing gender-based violence within their institutions, after we show them that this is wrong, yes, we help them realize that this is wrong, and then we facilitate them so that they can go and basically take a lead role in making the change within their institutions and within their communities. That's basically our approach.
So you've talked about training. So tell us more about this training. How do you conduct this training? I mean, the number of students that you engage in the training. How do you arrive at that?
Well, we are working with Model United Nations, which is a club in the university, and our approach is club-based. So Model United Nations invites other students and other clubs within the universities to come for a training session on gender-based violence. So this gender-based violence training session is 1 day long, and basically we meet, we talk about it, we look at what mentalities, or rather we look at the sort of attitude they had before and what sort of opinions they had on gender-based violence and on these issues like intimate partner, cohabitation and stuff. So we talk about them, and then we train them basically. And then after we've impacted them with the knowledge, then they sit down and they talk about it. I mean, they sit down in groups and talk about the issues within their universities. They say, for example, in my university, there's a lot of intimate partner violence because people cohabitate a lot. Or in my university, the lighting is not good enough outside, so it's not very safe for a girl to walk around at night. Or there's no messaging on gender-based violence or issues like that. So they talk about those, and then they come up with strategies themselves on how they're going to address these issues. And they'll be doing that in the course of the semester.
So when they come up with this, they've already discussed whatever is going on in the university, and then they come up with the strategies on how they should be able to curb this violence. Now, your organization, how do you come in now to be able to implement these the suggestions on how the violence should be curtailed?
Well, we come in with our partners. So if, for example, they say, let me give just one out of the top of my head. If they say they'd like to have induction for first year students, where they can give them some sort of information on gender-based violence, then we have a partner like LVCT that can come and do that sort of training. If they say that they want to do messaging, then we'll facilitate that. So what we do is facilitate them to be able to achieve their end goals.
It's like to empower them
we empower,
with materials.
exactly.
Okay, amazing. And also one thing that is coming up clearly, there's one thing that we really need to address as youth. We have that tendency whereby we start an organization, we start an initiative, a movement, but along the way we get tired, of pressing this movement. So how are you addressing that so that there is that consistency in trying to curtail, violence in universities?
Well, with Model UN, we are trying to, they are partners in this, in the SEMA campaign. So we are working with the secretariat, and
That
basically,
is in the school, or?
Yeah, the main secretariat, the Kenya Model United Nations Secretariat, that is represented, that has representation from each and every university. And what we're trying to do is we're going to make gender-based violence initiatives a part of their academic calendar. Like every academic year, they know they'll have to address some GBV issue. They'll have to implement one strategy. So that even when the secretariat graduates and others come in place, it still exists as a part of their, exactly, as a part of their calendar. Yes.
That's a great mechanism for the for the youth who are in campus, the way they can handle with violence issues. But what about those youths who are not in school? How are you catering for them as well?
Well, for that, first of all, we have our partnership with MISA, where we're trying to use sports to basically bring messaging on gender-based violence. So they are organizing soccer games pretty much every weekend. They have a game on the 16th, I think, coming 16th and 17th, Saturday and Sunday. So they organize soccer events and they get all this youth from the community to come together and they do gender-based violence messaging. We also have other activations. We have a concert coming up, the Sema concert, which is going to be at University of Nairobi. It's being presented by universities, but it's an open concert. Everyone is welcome. Everyone should come come all.
This event.
Exactly, to break the silence and gender-based violence. And also, as I mentioned, we are working with the Big Four fan clubs in Kenya, and we'll be doing gender-based violence on their social media pages, and also when they have their screenings. Normally they go watch games in different clubs as fans, so we'll be doing messaging in that setting as well, so that we cater to the crowd or the people, the youth that are not really in university.
Now, Faith, we've been talking about women being the most victims when it comes to gender-based violence, and we cannot also underplay that also men, faces violence. So, what do you have to say about that?
Yeah, I think the reason why we've been talking about it with regard to women is because women are mostly the victims, but it is a fact that women are also perpetrators of gender-based violence, Nyeri being a case in point. And there's a lot of gender-based violence that is perpetrated on men as well. But the problem is that most men don't come out, don't speak about it. Yes, they don't. They feel like it's a shame, or they'll be victimized. So they don't come out and speak about it. They don't report the cases of gender-based violence, which is why it's very important for us to break the silence on gender-based violence and actually speak about it and encourage people to report. Because reporting is actually very important, and speaking to people about our experiences, getting counseling, getting help from our relatives, from our friends, from our families, from professional counselors.
Okay, so what can you tell to that youth who is watching right now about this, and maybe they have undergone a case, that leads to violence? What can you tell them? Is there a way they can, access help? They can get help?
Well, what I'd say is the first thing to do if you've been raped or you've undergone gender-based violence is to report. It's important to report at a police station, go to a hospital, go and get help. Because if we don't talk about it, if you sit back and say you're afraid of being victimized or it's embarrassing, then you're not really solving the issue. So the first thing to do would be to report the case, and also there's actually a hotline number that you
have concerning how they can get help.
Yes.
And we'll relay the numbers down on your screen, so you can call the line whenever you're facing a similar situation, and you'll be able to get help. Well, we have been talking to Faith Wafula. She's a program officer at the Strategic Applications International, and she's been telling us more about gender-based violence and also the event which is due this Friday at the University of Nairobi. Please avail yourself, because there's going to be much going on, and you also understand we have spoken word artists, we have Sauti Soul in the house, they're going to go down. So it's going to be an entertaining as well as informative event. So we're going to take a short commercial break, but when we come back, we have a spoken word artist who is going to play a role in this campaign. So see you after this commercial break.
Yes, we are only human. Sometimes we need some help. We are only human. We are only human. Sometimes we need some help.
Welcome back, and in case you're joining us, this is Inspire Today Today we'll be talking about gender-based violence, but something interesting is there's a way art can be used to curtail gender-based violence. Now joining us is Mufasa, a spoken word artist, and he's gonna play part in this Friday's event that is Sema campaign.
Yes.
Tell us more.
So I joined in because I mean gender-based violence is it affects us all. It affects me. I've been waking up at 3 a.m. in the morning, like by screams. A neighbor beating up his wife. I've had a friend explaining to me that whenever a man touches her or just sits near her, her body trembles because of a past rape experience. So, and I'm a sensitive person, so these issues affect us all. And I thought this is the best stage to raise my voice. And I thought of spoken word as an art itself. I can use it to raise my voice. And the fact that we're speaking to university students, people that I can relate to, people that I am amongst them. So yeah, it's I have to join in. I had to join in. Yeah.
And spoken word is a tool that now is being appreciated more compared to yesteryears when it was still underground and not many people appreciating it. Maybe tell us more something about spoken word that we don't know of.
Actually, now spoken word is poetry. It is a poetry form, but now a recent art, in a recent way of performing it. Spoken word is different in terms of performance, because it's more about performance and relating. Because when you're performing, you expect people to understand, to listen, and to relate with it. So spoken word comes in as a better tool of information, because with spoken word, it's not about beats, snares, music. No, actually, you have to listen to me. You have to listen to what I'm saying. Even if at all I'm rhyming, then you'll notice that by hearing what I'm saying. So spoken word is really, really a good tool to use in passing information and reaching out to people and explaining stuff. Yeah.
And what are some of the issues that you usually are focused on? Now you're going to be part of this gender-based violence campaign that is SEMA. But some of the issues they usually touch on, what are some of the issues?
You see, personally, I've been raised by a single mother, so I have seen how women are discriminated in some ways, in a lot of ways actually, in workplaces, in a lot of ways, and I thought with spoken word now, I can speak about stuff, because people didn't even understand gender violence. It's not just about physical, in terms of physical. Yeah, exactly. It's not just physical. Because again, there are times like, for example, traditional ways like we have women in Ahero. There's this tradition where if a husband passes away, the wife can be inherited.
That is the wife's inheritance.
Exactly. It's really cruel.
Now, Mufasa, you're one of the artists who's gonna be part of this SEMA campaign, which is going down this Friday at the University of Nairobi. Tell us about your role and your engagement with SEMA campaign.
Okay, so basically, I'm here to speak about mothers and daughters. I'm here because I'm tired of men with loose hands. Because if they were tight, maybe they will hold their wives and daughters right and not harm them. I'm here because we need to raise men, because if fathers can rape their daughters, then we are at zero. I'm here because we need to kill the villain and raise more heroes. That's the reason I'm here. So specifically, yeah.
That's amazing, man. That's amazing. I actually did realize you actually doing the, what do you call that?
It's in me. Sometimes it's in me. It's just
so sometimes you just do it freestyle.
Yeah.
How long have you been doing this?
I think over a year. Yeah, over a year. Over a year now. Yeah, over a year. It's been over a year.
And what are some of the issues they usually talk about? Okay, Friday you're going to do on gender-based violence, but some of the issues they usually incorporate in your art.
Okay, so personally, I've been raised by a single mother, so most of the times I tend to speak more about mothers and daughters. I tend to speak more about issues affecting women, because I feel like people are not talking enough about what women are going through, about what daughters are going through and stuff like that. So personally, I most of the times I speak more about women and so just social issues. Yeah.
So basically, you're focusing on social issues. But sometimes when you perform in front of an audience, are they turned away by you just focusing on social issues? Because maybe they expect you just to entertain them.
Actually, it's the opposite, because immediately speak about something that is real, something that is true, something that we can relate to, something that's happening, something that I've seen in my family, in my neighborhood. It's more interesting, actually, because now you want to hear about that. You want to hear what's my say, because now we're going to perform in a university, in a university, and the people there are just my age mates. Most of them are my age mates. Most of them I can relate to. So they will want to hear what am I saying, why am I saying this, and what do I think about it. So, and I think this spoken word art can be used, especially in this whole gender-based violence thing, to actually instill better values in other people, especially the youth. Because I'm speaking to youth here, so I'm telling them, hey, it's upon us to change this world. It's upon us to make a future a better place for us to live, and it's upon us. And I'm saying this because I have seen this, haven't you? I don't think this is good, don't you?
About it.
I don't think this is good. Do you think this is good?
No, it's
I
not.
don't think this is fair. Do you, yeah. So specifically that way, yeah.
Now, music as a whole, most of the times as artists, we find ourselves speaking of other issues. And most of the time, we'll talk about love and relationships and sex. So those are some of the issues that really come out in most of the artists.
Yeah.
So what can you tell, artists that are there and how we can be able to curtail domestic, and how we can be able to curtail gender-based violence by using what we are talented in, and that's music, to be able to curtail this?
Yeah, I'll say that, this is a God-given talent. Whether you're a singer, a poet, it's talent, and you have to use your talent. And the fact is, you have to use your talent well. You have to ask yourself, what are you living like? What is your slogan? What are you living? Once you perform, what do people say about you? Do they say you're a good performer, or do they say that was a good song, that was a good piece? Are they affected? Are they influenced? Or do they just nod their heads and just smile as they go home? Or are
And then
they
they go home and
affected?
forget about it.
Are
and
they
wait for
affected?
next
Do they
time.
actually frown? Do they look at themselves and say, this is wrong, I have been wrong? Do they? Do you affect people? So I'll say, you have to sing or speak about stuff that make change.
That is positive
Yeah,
music.
exactly.
Artists need to engage in positive music,
Something that is
can be able
influensive.
to effect a change
Yeah,
in the community.
exactly.
Okay, so what are some of the preparations that you have in place for in
Oh.
Friday?
It's a surprise. No.
You don't want to share with us so that we become the first people to have the first-hand information.
No. But I can tell you it's gonna be a good show. It's gonna be a good show. I'll speak about everything. I can't even explain how it will be, but it will be an awesome show. Really informative, really educative. You have to be there.
Okay, definitely Youth TV will be there.
Yeah.
And before we let you go, what are your expectations come Friday?
Actually, the thing is just what I said. I expect people to leave for home changed. I expect to touch someone. That's it. Not even someone, people. I expect people to go home and have a different view about their lives and how they're going to live their lives. Yeah.
Okay, Mufasa, before we let you go, you have to do a freestyle.
Freestyle.
Yeah, a freestyle, or if you're able, you can do that on gender-based violence. Yeah, because that's the topic of today.
Okay. I'm a son of a voice of Fatuma, a single mother living positively with HIV that she did not seek to have when she chose to love a man who did his manly duties all right. He went out and brought home food and HIV. So she made him food to eat while he made her take ARV pills after those pills. Yes, this is for a woman, all right? This is for that woman whose husband has never hit her. But don't tell her she doesn't know violence, because her husband actually pushed her aside by sleeping around with younger women when her body was disfigured by giving birth to the 4 kids they have. Yeah.
That's amazing. And you have been watching Inspired today, and we've been hanging out with Mufasa on the show. He's one of the artists who's going to be at the campaign, which is happening on Friday at the University of Nairobi. So you better come out in large numbers.
Yeah.
How did they pull that off?
Ow.
Was I okay?
Yeah, you okay?
Okay, that means I wasn't okay.
No.
I should stick to my day job, and that is presenter. Anyway, we've had a wonderful show. We've been talking to Mufasa about the event coming this Friday at the University of Nairobi, which is Sema. They're coming out in large numbers to be able to speak out against gender-based violence. So please avail yourself. It's going to be a great initiative. You're going to learn a lot. Now, this has been Inspired Today. I've been your host, Beatrice Nyariwo. Till next time, bye-bye.
We are only human. Sometimes we need some help.